My son's new fiancée sat at Sunday lunch and boldly asked for $500,000 for her dream luxury wedding. She acted like I would just hand it over like any well-off father. Then my son slipped me a note under the table. "Dad, she's a scammer. Help." I kept my face calm and said just 2 words that broke her confident smile in an instant and turned her self-assurance into nothing. My name is Harold George Mitchell. I'm 58 years old, and I have spent the last 3 years in what most people would call a comfortable retirement here in Dallas, Texas. Before that, I served as a federal judge for 25 years, handling financial crime and fraud cases. I believed I had seen every kind of trick in the book. It turns out the most dangerous ones don't come from strangers in courtrooms. They come to Sunday lunch wearing a designer dress and a practiced smile. That Sunday started like any other. Timothy, my son, invited me to lunch at the French Room in the Adolphus Hotel. He had been dating Sophia for about 8 months, and I will admit I had not paid as much attention as I should have. Timothy is 35, a successful project manager at a tech company, and he has always been careful with relationships, maybe too careful. When he finally introduced me to Sophia 3 months ago, I was just glad to see him happy. She was striking, I will give her that. Long dark hair, perfect posture, the kind of woman who knows exactly how to enter a room and take control of it without saying a word. Her mother, Carmen, joined us for lunch from time to time. A woman in her late 50s with the same sharp, calculating eyes as her daughter, though she tried harder to hide them behind a polished Southern charm. That Sunday, both of them were already at the table when I arrived. Timothy looked nervous. I noticed it right away, the way he kept fixing his napkin, the stiff, forced smile on his face. But I brushed it off as pre-wedding stress. They had gotten engaged just 2 weeks earlier. "Harold," Sophia said, leaning forward with that bright, practiced smile. "I'm so happy you could come. We have some exciting news about the wedding to share." I ordered my usual scotch and settled in, expecting to hear about a date or a venue. Instead, Sophia took out a leather portfolio and set it on the table between us. "Timothy and I have been planning our dream wedding," she began, her voice shifting into a businesslike tone that made something in my stomach tighten. "And we wanted to talk about the budget with you. Budget, not ideas, not plans, budget. We have been working with a top wedding planner," she continued, opening the portfolio to show page after page of glossy photos and printed estimates. "And we have decided that for the kind of wedding we want, we will need $500,000. The scotch arrived. I took a slow sip, watching her carefully. Timothy's hand was tight around his water glass. $500,000, I repeated, keeping my voice even. "That is very specific." "Oh, it is all broken down very clearly," Sophia said, growing more energetic. Her eyes had a shine I had seen before in my courtroom when someone thought they had a perfectly practiced story. $200,000 for the venue alone. We are looking at the Rosewood Mansion on Turtle Creek for 300 guests, then $100,000 for flowers and decor. I have always dreamed of cherry blossoms flown in from Japan, and the ice sculptures alone will cost $25,000. $50,000 for my dress, she added, touching her collarbone in what she probably thought was a shy gesture. Vera Wang is designing it personally. It is a once-in-a-lifetime piece. Carmen spoke next, her voice sweet and smooth. "Our family has certain expectations, Harold. Sophia is our only daughter. We want her day to be perfect." I looked at Timothy. His jaw was so tight I could see the strain in his face, like when he was a frightened 10-year-old who had broken a neighbor's window with a baseball. Pure fear. $500,000, I said again, setting my glass down. "And you are telling me this because—" Sophia's smile stayed in place, but something cold moved in her eyes. "Well, traditionally, the groom's family contributes a lot to the wedding, and Timothy mentioned that you are comfortable." Comfortable. Such a polite way to judge someone's finances over lunch. "I see." I picked up the menu, looking at it as if this were a normal day. And what does Timothy think about this budget? Timothy wants me to be happy, Sophia said, placing her hand over his. He did not react. Don't you, honey? Timothy opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. We have talked. We have talked about how important this is. We have talked about how important this is to me, Sophia cut in smoothly. And if his family really cares about him, they will want him to start his marriage the right way. The message was clear. Agree, or you do not support your son. I was about to answer when I felt something touch my knee under the table. Timothy's hand, passing me something. I took it quickly. A small move I had seen countless times in my courtroom over the years. Carmen was watching me closely now. Harold, you seem uncertain. Is there a problem? Just taking it all in, I said calmly. It is a lot to hear during lunch. Sophia leaned back, and I noticed the change. The sweet act was starting to fade. I would think for your only son's wedding no cost would be too much, but maybe I am wrong about the kind of family he comes from. There it was, the manipulation. Turn it into a test of love and loyalty instead of an unreasonable demand. Under the table, I opened the paper Timothy had given me. Without looking down, I ran my thumb over it, feeling the deep pen marks. He had written hard. The note was small, like it had been torn from a pad. I kept my eyes on Sophia as she kept talking about expensive champagne and custom invitations, while my thumb followed the letters he had pressed into the paper. When I finally understood, a cold feeling ran through me. But I had learned something in 25 years on the bench. The moment you reveal your hand, you lose control. So I smiled, nodded when needed, and listened to Sophia's more forceful demands while my mind raced through what Timothy had just told me in 6 words. Dad, she's a scammer. Please help. I looked at my son, truly looked at him. The dark circles under his eyes I had ignored. The weight he had lost. The way he kept checking his phone with a worried expression when Sophia was not looking. How had I missed this? But I knew how. After Timothy's mother passed 8 years ago, I had buried myself in work to avoid the quiet of the house. After retiring, I filled my time with restoring old legal books and doing occasional consulting. I had been so relieved that Timothy had found someone that I did not ask the questions I should have. Like why a 32-year-old woman with no clear job was living in a high-end apartment. Or why every talk seemed to come back to money and status. Or why Timothy's friends had slowly disappeared since he started seeing her. You are very quiet, Harold, Carmen said, her voice still sweet but sharper now. I turned to her. Another detail I had overlooked. The way she controlled the flow of the conversation, always present, always guiding it. This was not just a mother supporting her daughter. This was a coordinated effort. Just thinking, I said lightly. Sophia's eyes narrowed. Thinking about what? Whether your son is worth $500,000. For a moment, the real her showed. The flash of anger when someone did not give in right away. I had seen that look many times before. Different place, same behavior, the rising demands, the emotional pressure, the way she was already preparing the story that if I refused, I was the bad guy. Years ago, I had handled a case where a woman convinced 3 men to invest their life savings into a luxury spa that never existed. She used the same methods: build a dream, make it seem necessary, attack anyone who questions it, and isolate the target. I am thinking, I said slowly, about the details. What details? Sophia asked, her voice now tight with control. All of them. I lifted my scotch again and took another slow sip. $500,000 is a very large amount. I assume you have proper contracts from all these vendors? Signed agreements? Proof of the quoted prices? The silence at the table came fast and complete. Carmen recovered first. Well, of course, we're still in the planning phase. So you're asking for $500,000 based on rough estimates, I said, keeping my tone calm and casual. No contracts, no guarantees. Just plans. Sophia's cheeks turned red. It's not about paperwork, Harold. It's about trust. It's about family. Actually, I replied, when someone asks me for $500,000, it is absolutely about paperwork. I could see her thinking quickly, trying to decide which approach would work next. The sweet fiancé had failed. The emotional daughter angle hadn't worked. Now she was shifting again. Maybe this was a mistake, she said, her voice shaking just a little. Maybe Timothy and I should just elope. Save everyone the trouble. Timothy's hand moved toward her, then stopped halfway. I saw the struggle on his face, the desperate wish to fix everything, to keep everyone happy even after he had just told me she was scamming him. This was the moment. I could sit back and let it happen, watch my son make a terrible mistake, or I could do what I had done for 25 years on the bench, cut through the lies and bring the truth out. I smiled. It was the same smile I used to give defense lawyers who thought they were clever, just before I ruled against them. Prove it, I said. Sophia blinked. What? Prove it. Show that this wedding really costs $500,000. Show me detailed estimates from real vendors with real company names and tax IDs. Show me signed proposals. Show me anything that proves this number is real and not something you made up. Her mouth opened, then closed. Carmen's eyes hardened. You have 72 hours, I continued, pulling out my phone and clearly setting a reminder. 3 days to provide documents for every single dollar you're asking for. If this wedding truly costs $500,000, it should be easy to prove. This is insulting, Carmen said sharply. This is due diligence, I corrected. Something I should have done months ago. I stood up, placed $200 on the table for lunch, and looked at Timothy. Son, I need to speak with you alone. Sophia grabbed his arm. Timothy, you don't have to. Yes, I said quietly. He does. Because this is my son, and I will not watch him be manipulated. Not anymore. The look Sophia gave me then was pure anger. And in that moment, I knew Timothy's note was completely right. This woman was a scammer, and she had just realized that her target's father was not going to be as easy to control as his love-struck son. Almost exactly. The third one is interesting, though. Vincent Paul Rodriguez, San Antonio investment banker. $58,000. He actually hired a lawyer to investigate before the engagement ended. I found out that 9 out of the 15 vendors on Sophia's list were actually shell companies, bank accounts set up under different names, but all linked back to Carmen Martinez through shared addresses and phone numbers. Did he take legal action? He wanted to, but his lawyer advised him not to. Said the case was complicated, would drag on for years, and Sophia could argue that the vendor relationships just failed after she paid deposits honestly. Rodriguez decided it was better to accept the loss and move forward. So they had done this at least 3 times that we knew about. The total confirmed losses were $195,000, plus Timothy's $35,000. These women had turned wedding fraud into something close to a perfected system. How much of this can you actually prove? I asked. All of it. Bank records, phone logs, property documents, everything. I also have contact details for all 3 earlier victims. Whether they'll agree to talk to you is another matter. Send me everything. I'll deal with the victims myself. That afternoon, while Sophia kept sending Timothy more and more urgent messages about needing a decision on the venue deposit, I sat in my study and carefully read Gregory's full preliminary report. It was very clear and very damaging. The next morning, I got an email from Sophia to Timothy, with me copied in. The subject line said, "Final wedding budget ready for your review." I opened it. 15 pages of detailed breakdowns, vendor names, service descriptions, and costs adding up to $485,000. It looked polished, complete, and believable. It was also almost certainly completely made up. I forwarded it to Gregory. His reply came back in less than an hour. 8 of these companies don't exist. The others are real businesses. But when I called pretending to be a client, none of them had ever worked with anyone named Sophia Martinez. Perfect. The confrontation happened exactly 72 hours after my ultimatum. We met at Elite Wedding Designs, the address Sophia had given. The building in the design district was real enough, but Suite 140 had been empty for 3 months. Someone had taped a temporary sign reading Elite Wedding Designs on the door. I was already inside, along with Charles and a briefcase full of evidence. "Where is your wedding coordinator?" I asked as we walked into the empty suite. Nothing but beige carpet, plain white walls, and a small card table with folding chairs. "Michelle must be running late," Sophia said, her voice cheerful but strained. "She texted me this morning saying she was moving some furniture into her new office." "Michelle Rodriguez," I said, opening my briefcase. "That would be your wedding coordinator." "Yes, exactly. She's in high demand, booked months ahead." "Interesting, because according to the Texas Secretary of State Business Registry, no company named Elite Wedding Designs exists, and no wedding planner named Michelle Rodriguez is licensed in Dallas County." Sophia's smile froze instantly. Carmen took a small step backward. "Let's talk about your budget," I continued, pulling out Gregory's report. 15 vendors, registered under different names, all sharing mailing addresses connected to your mother. I pulled out another document. "Let's talk about Arthur Dean Thompson, a tech entrepreneur from Houston. He lost $65,000 on a wedding that never happened. Does that sound familiar?" Sophia's eyes widened. She glanced quickly at Carmen, who looked ready to run. "Or Leonard James Wilson, a real estate developer from Austin. $72,000. Same pattern every single time." "I don't know what you're talking about," Sophia said, but her voice had lost all its strength. 3 previous engagements that ended just weeks before the weddings, all with large deposits paid and never returned, all following the same pattern of fake vendors and shell companies. I leaned forward slightly. "Sophia, I spent 25 years handling financial crime cases. This is not a coincidence. This is a criminal operation." Timothy was staring at Sophia like he was seeing her for the first time. Which, in a way, he was. The mask was breaking apart. "You can't prove any of this," Carmen said, trying to sound confident but failing. "I can prove all of it," I said calmly. "Bank records, phone logs, statements from 3 victims, including proof of the shell companies. It's over." I took out my phone. "This is the direct number for the assistant district attorney in charge of financial crimes. I worked with him for 15 years. One call, and by tomorrow morning you're both under investigation." "You're bluffing," Carmen said, her voice shaking. "Am I?" I showed them the contact on my screen. Sophia finally lost control. "You bastard," she said sharply. "You self-righteous bastard. Your son wasn't anything special, you know that? Just another easy target with money and problems." "There it is," I said quietly. "The truth. Thank you." Charles had been recording the entire conversation on his phone. "You can leave now," I said, "or I can make that call. Your choice." They left quickly. Sophia's heels clicked fast against the floor as they rushed out. 2 days later, faced with strong evidence including recorded statements, Sophia pleaded guilty to wire fraud and received 12 years in federal prison. Carmen got 15 years because of prior convictions. Timothy slowly learned to trust his judgment again. I learned that retirement doesn't really mean a judge ever stops being a judge. And Sophia Martinez learned that when you try to take advantage of people, sooner or later you meet someone who has spent decades learning how to recognize a con. Sometimes the best protection you can give your children is not money. It is teaching them that anyone who truly loves them will never make love depend on how much they are willing to spend. Real trust is not built on big promises or expensive plans. It is built through consistency, honesty, and respect for the word no. Real love never needs to be bought.